The University of Texas at Austin is a really great institution. I've been at Harvard, and I've been at Princeton, and I made tenure at MIT, and this place beats them all.
That was UT music professor Robert Freeman, and this is The Hook. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Roush, and I love the University of Texas so much that I'm growing out my Longhorns. What do you think? Pretty good, right? Corey likes it. Okay, this week we're only talking about one big idea. Professor Freeman says we need to rethink music education. You see, in many ways, music students get a professional education, like law students or business students or medical students. But the industries that they go into after college, usually teaching or performing professionally, those industries are shrinking. Professor, can you provide us with some depressing examples?
There are, for example, a dozen major American musical ensembles, major ensembles, that have been in fiscal hot water in the last 5 years. There was an awful strike for the Detroit Symphony. There was a 16-month lockout for Minnesota. Atlanta had its salaries reduced by 20%. Philadelphia Orchestra was in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy for a year and a half. The New York City Center Opera closed, period. The Metropolitan Opera has just been through some awful negotiations in which the musicians lost 3% of their salary this year and another 3% next year.
Woof. Now, Dr. Freeman is concerned with building well-rounded music students who have a lot of practical skills as well as deep and broad knowledge of music, instead of, say, a bunch of 15th century Northern Italian monastic chants. Now, Dr. Freeman says a lot of music students approach music school like
going to law school and enrolling in a course which will make you, maybe, into the Supreme Court, into a Supreme Court member, or even better, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. That you're not going to be happy unless you get to be the Chief Justice.
But only one person gets to be Chief Justice, no matter how many letters a plucky young Texas ex might write on a daily basis, Supreme Court. Talking about me. Well, Dr. Freeman, I want to know how higher education fits into all of this. How's it supposed to help all these struggling orchestras and whatnot?
Well, I think that what young people ought to learn if they're undergraduates in college, whatever their field of concentration, is how to think, how to read and write, how to speak in public, how to disagree with other people without becoming obnoxious. That's what a democratic society needs.
All right, but this is a professional YouTube show, and our time could theoretically be construed as valuable. Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can just waltz in and give their opinion. What's your resume look like?
That I'm a third-generation professional musician. My paternal grandfather played in Sousa's band, and before that in the Grenadier Guards band. My dad was the double bass player in the Boston Symphony, ultimately principal bass. And so my mother was a very good violinist. The two of them met each other as undergraduates at the Eastman School of Music. I went to Harvard and got a PhD in musicology at Princeton, made tenure at MIT. And then when I was 35, I became the third director of the Eastman School, where my parents had met, and made a bunch of reforms there, was there for 24 years. Fortunately, at age 65, was an attractive prospect for UT. So I came down here as Dean of Fine Arts in 2000, spent 6 years doing that.
Dang, well, okay then. Now, I may never be Chief Justice, but pretend I'm in charge of a music school. What's your final advice? Give us your parting shot.
Instead of telling all of your oboe students that there's no time for them to do anything but make reeds and play the oboe, that's presuming they all go to Boston or New York. I mean, supposing you're an oboist who's a good brain surgeon. Amarillo needs you.
Of course, if you want to learn more about this, check out the links in the description down below me, where you, as always, will find some UT news. We say goodbye to the man who built the show band of the Southwest. We read an excerpt from the new novel, The Devil's Backbone. It's very good. And we see where UT lands on the latest US News rankings. Don't forget to subscribe to The Hook, by the way, and check out the Texas Exes and our magazine, The All Call Day, on all your favorite social media platforms. I'll be there, you'll be there, and we'll do some social things through these media. Anyway, until next time, I'm Andrew Rausch. Stay hooked.